Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Co-Op Syndicate. I'm your co-host, Michael C. Moore.
And I'm your other co-host, Jordan G. Marcos.
And today, we're going to be talking about generally positive stuff in the gaming.
Yeah, I thought about it, and it seems like since the start of our podcast or the inception, we've mostly just been talking about all the weird and mostly corporate-driven stuff and going on in the gaming industry. We started off with games as a service, and we went off into talking. I think the most previous episodes we've had are about how we've been talking. We had the ongoing conversation about depression and stuff with gaming and how gaming helps. But after last week, when we had our guest, the Positive Mind, it seems like we should probably go on a little bit of streak, or at least follow up that episode with this episode being a bit more on a positive note for the gaming industry. How do you feel about that? You think I have the right idea with that, or maybe we should just stick to?
I know that for the most part, we've been shitting on stuff, and that's kind of because negativity and outrage kind of sells. But I also think that it is healthy to look at every aspect of everything. So talking about awesome and cool, positive stuff is great too. Like I know we had a couple episodes where we talked about like how good the PlayStation 5 was, and we did talk about like the positive aspects of gaming. However, that was in contrast to like negative aspects of it. So doing some purely positive stuff for a change would probably be nice for the people who are watching and listening as well.
Yeah, I guess the big thing too that I want to add is also the fact that we never talk about Xbox. So, well, it's mostly because we've been largely disconnected from the console as well as like what Microsoft has been doing. But today is all about why gaming is pretty much a good thing for everyone and why it's a good time to be a gamer, right? We've been looking at all the crazy stunts that these companies have been doing. We've been seeing Microsoft spending money left and right, getting games from all over, and we've been seeing Sony doing almost the same thing in a different way. And I think that's something that we just got to talk on, because even then, just last week, we've had two different showcases of a bunch of indie games too, which I'm excited for. I like indies as well. And some of my favorite ones, sadly, the company for one of my favorite indies is bought by Valve and forever sent to the mills of making Dota game and content and stuff. So we might not ever see them again, which we'll talk on that too. But for the most part, there are a bunch of indie games out there and just a bunch of good things that are just happening for gamers all around. I've told you about a couple of them, right?
I think you might have, but I would just want to add real quick as a side note that on the bright side, it seems that their repetitive trying to milk Dota is backfiring, because I know that's one of the Dota games already kind of like splashed back in their face. So maybe hopefully they take that as a message to maybe try and diversify their stuff. I know we said positive, but that's already sounding like something negative.
Just,
but
I mean, it's just a little bit of a sad note, because they did make one of my favorite. I guess I'll say it. It's Firewatch, I think it's called. I mentioned it to you before. They made that game, which was like a first person story driven narrative, where it's just literally you're walking in this forest, you're doing a couple of tasks for this other Firewatch person in another camp, and then essentially you're just keeping a watch out for fires, right? Because you're in a forest, so you want to make sure there's like a watch on fire so they can control it and call in all the services needed. But I thought generally the game was great. It sold a lot, and the company was making a new game that was going to be even more expensive, set in Egypt, and doing all this like historical, archaeological like game where you do all this like research and stuff. And I thought it was going to be cool because I liked the first game. But when they got bought by Valve, one good thing that came out of it is they made Half-Life Alyx, right? Like, hey, we got a new Half-Life game, and surprisingly it was great, and it was for VR and this and that. But I'm just hoping they don't get their game canceled and they actually get a chance. But aside from that, there's a lot of good things. I guess we can start off with the most recent one. As a Sony fan, I guess we'll start off with Sony. The Play at Home initiative that they've been doing, right? So last year they started because of all the reasons. I'm not going to mention anymore because we're tired of talking about them. Let's just leave it unnamed. But for reasons of 2020, they started a new thing called Play at Home initiative, where essentially they give you they gave 2 free games to incentivize people staying at home and playing games. Like they gave out the Uncharted trilogy, which is essentially like 3 games in one pack, 3 great games, and they gave out an indie game. I can't recall the name right now, sadly, but those 2 games were given away as this offer for or incentive for people to stay home and just have something like giving back to the community essentially, right? And the good thing about it too is that it was free. Like it's anybody can buy it. You don't need PS Plus. You don't need to spend no subscription, no tricks, no questions. It's just here's 2 free games, right? Or 4 free games, right? This year they pushed it forward, and what they did was they gave away 2 of their top free games, being Ratchet and Clank 2016 and Horizon Zero Dawn, which is amazing, and the complete edition too. So it brings the expansion, all that. And then they gave on top of that like about I believe 7 free indie games, or like 9 free indie games. Sorry, 9. So 4 of them would be for VR, and then the other 5 are just regular indies and stuff. This is actually pretty great. I mean, even for me as a gamer, because a lot of these games I might not, I overlooked way back when, and they weren't on sale at the moment, but they gave it for free. There's a reason why it wasn't on sale, and it's because it's free. I'm pretty excited about this, and I think it's not only good for all gamers, but specifically, PlayStation players. They get this added benefit just for being on the console.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty sweet deal, man. Like, who isn't a fan of free stuff, right? I know that Final Fantasy 7 Remake is one of the games that they're giving for free now, and that game was like pretty top tier and stuff like that. Of course, it's a little bit delayed, but what can you expect? I'm assuming you have to try to do something that's going to favor the developers, and at the same time also do something that's going to try to please your fan base and stuff. So Final Fantasy 7 Remake wasn't going to just be immediately free, but now for anyone who might have missed out on that, they have their opportunity to play it. I know I'm definitely going to be one of those people that are going to play it as well.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about free, right? It's after a year. So, I mean, maybe a year might... I think on the contrary. I think maybe a year is a little too early.
The Soulstorm game that's coming out is going to be free right off the bat.
Well, no, yeah, that is. But one thing is like an in-house first party, and then another thing is like you're grabbing Square Enix, like a third-party company. And I mean, sure, they're paying them a lot of money for that, but I mean, also it's like it's a little early for the free, because I know even your brother who owns the game felt a little like awkward about it. He's like, damn, I spent like $60 on the game, and now they're giving it away for free. But it is a good thing too for gamers. I mean, at the same time, it is free. It's a bonus just for being part of the subscription. But specifically with the Play at Home initiative is that you don't need the subscription, which is why I was bringing that up. But yeah, I agree with your point. They've been knocking it out of the park, giving away a lot of good high-end games almost monthly. I mean, they gave out Control at the beginning of the year. Remember, I was upset about it because I bought the original version on PS4 and I wasn't going to get the upgrade for free, and now I got it. Well, now I got it for PS5 for free. So this is something that I think is just pretty great personally, and to me it just hit home. I'm very happy about that. I'm happy with the fact that I've sided with Sony, because they've been taking care of me pretty well. Like, they've been giving a lot of good free games. I haven't felt like I needed to pay for much in a while because of the offers that I'm getting just for being part of the family, or whatever they want to call it, right? And another good thing too is that I showed you yesterday, they dropped the PS Now subscription service, which I think a lot of people are also, disregarding. They're giving it away for $1 for the rest of the week actually for 3 more days, for a whole month, right? You just pay $1, and then there's like, I actually didn't know this, but there's actually over 700 games from PS2 to PS4 that you can just play in there. Like, it's not, I thought it was just going to be like 200 games or whatever, and it's going to be like the worst ones. That's not true.
Emulation blueprint that they leaked or something like that? The patent that got leaked?
No. PS Now is their version of Game Pass. So it's like their streaming service that you can just play everything. And they've been, since the beginning of PS4, they've been slowly adding to it with more and more games, right? Granted, Microsoft's going a little bit faster than them because they're just throwing money everywhere. I mean, that's what buying power gives, right? But they've actually had, there's surprisingly a lot of, a huge portion of games. Or granted, they don't have all the games, but they have a huge amount. Like, I was seeing some of the Ratchet and Clank games that I want to play are there that are only available through PSN. And while they're $10 right now at the moment, I could just pay $1 and just play them all, for a bit.
That's already like $29 saved pretty much. That's a pretty sweet deal.
Exactly.
And even if you just want to play those games, that's a pretty sweet deal.
Exactly. And then there's also Infamous, which I wanted to play the expansion, which was like, I think $5, but I'm saving money there. And then, of course, I haven't seen the rest of the PS Now store, but there's a bunch of other games there.
They have Maximo, though.
I don't know. I gotta check. I mean, that's Capcom, dude. I mean, Sony can't just twist another company's arm. But
do they have anything like Resident Evil? Did you manage to see like if they had any Resident Evils?
I have to
like
peruse. I have to peruse through it. Like I said, I'm one of the gamers where I disregarded it. For some reason, I see like Sony fans have been sticking to buying games rather than doing subscription stuff like Xbox is doing. Like there's two different narratives, right? And I'm seeing this on Twitter where PlayStation's more like everyone just wants to buy and own their game and not have to worry about licenses or whatever. And then Xbox is the opposite way where they're starting to push towards a subscription thing. So I'm one of those people that also, and you know me, as a person who has a physical collection, it made no sense to me to get this service, but now it kind of does for digital only games, at least. I have to check it out and see what else they have. I know they have God of War, and I know they have a bunch of the Ratchet & Clank games. So
the other aspect of that you have to look at is also if you are trying to be a collectionist and get these games like as a physical copy. And these are some older games. A lot of these games cost more than new games, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that this was on the PlayStation Store or anything like that, but just to throw out a quick example, I know that one of the favorite games from my childhood was the Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi series. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 still goes for over $100 for the PS2. So obviously, if you have the ability to get to pay a $1 subscription fee for a month, and you get a bunch of games on there that are probably selling for like more than what a new game costs or anywhere near what a new game costs on the market, you just save that money. I mean, sure, it would be sweet to have the physical copy, but if you're just kind of itching to play the game and it's just a good deal.
I definitely agree. I mean, this is a benefit to most gamers that aren't that probably they did the whole buy and then sell at GameStop thing to kind of get some of their money back. Like this is a benefit.
Do that. That's fucking awful. I'm sorry, you just brought up like a triggered memory that I had. Where I forget what game I wanted. I think it might have been the Call of Duty for the year or something like that back when I was in high school. And I remember like me and Omar talked it over, which is my cousin, and we wanted to see if we can I don't know if we could get a good deal for it, I guess. And when I went, like they just said, oh yeah, like we were just trying to get as close as possible to $60. And I remember I ended up looking at the tab after it was done, and I ended up selling Star Wars: The Force Unleashed for like, was it 13 cents or something like that? I was like, I shouldn't have, like, that didn't make any sense. Like, even if it's to get me as close as possible to 60, that doesn't make any sense to give them back a game, and especially that I enjoyed as much as The Force Unleashed than for 13 cents. For 13 cents, I would have let it catch dust, collect dust, and then just brought it out whenever I wanted to play and played it. You know, like, I don't know, whatever. That just
I mean, there's some shady stuff that definitely went on with that, with the whole, like, yeah, we'll offer you something, but it's not going to be anything. But let's get away from that for a minute. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and like I said, for the average gamer, you know, again, going off the same thing we had a couple episodes back, it's a good benefit because you're only paying, I mean, $1. I mean, surely you're only getting a month, but it's $1. I mean, come on, you get access to 700 games. Even if you don't play them all to completion, you can. It's like basically you're paying $1 to play a demo of like 700 games, and then you can try them all out. Whichever one you like, you just buy it, right?
It goes further than that. If you really look at it over the course of a year, it's $12.
No. It's $1 just for the month.
The
average price.
That's a starting price or something like that.
No, it's just they're just giving an offer for a month. Like you can get 1 month for $1, right?
What's the full price? Cost of
the full price is $60 for the whole year. That's still not bad, right?
It's still a good deal. It's
still like
damn.
$5 a month if you really do the math, right? You're paying $5 a month compared to. I don't want to bring up the console war thing, but Game Pass is $120 for half the amount of games, right? So
that's a good point, but I'm just starting to think about. It just that's kind of like already. I mean, I guess the offer is like a nice thing to look at, but it just. I'm a little worried about all the subscriptions that seem like they might start stacking up, you know, like you have the $60 PS Plus or whatever, and on top of that, adding like another 60 to play all these other games.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you gotta see it how you gotta see it for what it is, right? If you want new games, then you pay the plus, and then you get the new games for free monthly whenever they come, right? If you want all the old games like PS2, PS3, and you're more about that, then you just pay the 60 for that service instead, and you get most of those through the subscription. And then, of course, I mean, this is like you can either pay the yearly or you can pay monthly. You just pay $10.
But I'm confused then. So explain this to me. Why are they doing this now while they simultaneously also have a patent going through for emulation? What do you think's up with that?
Okay. So they've been doing PS Now since 2013. This is not new.
Okay.
It's not new. It's new that Xbox jumped into it and they're spending money in a different way. That's new. But the whole streaming service things for games has been around forever, and PS Now has been pretty. I didn't notice it was getting that big. I always thought, because Sony wouldn't promote it as much, right? I always thought that it was something. Sorry, I always thought it was something on the side that wasn't very important. That it was just like a benefit for people that just wanted to play games for cheaper. But because they never brought anything new, it was always old games. I thought, oh, okay, you know, it's a service is going to grow because they're going to use this as a way to preserve all their old games, right? But now that I'm looking at it again, I'm seeing, wow, okay, there's a lot more here than what I initially thought. And that's why I wanted to bring it up today. Now, as far as what they're doing with emulation, I mean, I know that they're most like, there's reports that they're going to get rid of PS3s, PSN, and PSPs and PS Vitas, so you can't buy games through those systems anymore. But this patent, what it essentially does is it's like the final piece, because the original patent was to grab emulated games and put them on PS4, which they kind of followed through. I mean, there's a bunch of PS2 games you can buy and stuff, right? Then what they did with this patent is that now the way they can do it is that they can attach trophies to them without having to reprogram the game. So the way that trophies work is that you have to do an action in the game. The game is programmed to code into that trophy so it unlocks. But now what it does is that the trophy itself has a running AI that understands that you completed the action in the game without the developers having to reprogram the game, essentially allowing trophy support without having to do any of the extra work.
So basically, all the old games are gonna have trophies, right?
If the technology works, yes. Essentially, they could grab a PS1
That's
game.
super easy to do. I can imagine. I imagine super easy to do. Obviously, I don't work for game development, but I don't think that's gonna. I mean, way more incredible things have been done. So I think adding trophies retroactively to old games, that's something that should be like, you could do that like without even thinking about it. I feel like.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but it's development cost, development effort. It's always, you gotta, as a business, you gotta know where to put your stuff, right? Because then there's companies like, you know, Square Enix that they settle down on one thing, and then there's companies like EA and CD Projekt Red that do too many things, and it gets out of hand, right? So I mean,
well, how would you feel if all these old games get trophies now? Like, as someone who's also like a trophy hunter, you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta go all the way back to PS1.
I'm just gonna play the games I like, right? I'm not gonna force myself to play things I don't like. And
no more Hannah Montana.
No more. No more Hannah Montana. I'm not rebuying that on PS3. I'm not doing the trophy, whatever. But what I was trying to say is, this is a good thing because it essentially gives it almost like a second life, right? Like, now it's like, on top of the fact that the games just exist and the only reason you go back for is nostalgia, now you have a reason because there's new content technically, which is getting trophies. If you're a trophy hunter, it's like, oh wow, more trophies for me.
It adds replayability.
Exactly, it adds replayability. To an extent, of course, because then there's also like boring trophies where it's like, oh, kill 1,000 people. Like, that's boring. I actually saw this too, where Mark Cerny actually spoke out about trophies, and he says like the trophies that he hates the most are multiplayer ones because they're always BS. Like, oh, do 1,000 of this or 100 of that or whatever, and it's just.
I agree. I think everyone can kind of just agree that multiplayer trophies are ass. I remember when we did Battlefield 3, we helped each other boost a little bit too here and there.
Yeah, exactly. And just to let you know, after Battlefield 4, it got worse. The trophies became more grindy and worse. Like, even the last Battlefield I tried to do, which I looked at the trophy list and I didn't even bother buying the game or playing it at all because of that. It was like that it required you to be like 100 level 30 and then like max out like all the classes like to do like the trophy or whatever. It's like, I understand where you kind of want it. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, the way I think about it is that a game should challenge, the trophy should challenge you to explore more of the game, right? So collect 100 thingamajigs, I wouldn't say is a good trophy. I would say maybe find secret hidden door or whatever in the middle of nowhere would be a good secret trophy, right? Because it challenges you to explore more of the game to see what's there. But when it tells you, oh, just do 1,000 of the same task, it's like, I get 100 of those bounties in Destiny and I'm like garbage, right? So for me to do it as a trophy, it's the same experience. I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, right? But that's besides the point. The point is, they're doing these things for emulation, which again, it's another benefit that I wanted to bring up today. Like, Sony is starting to see that they're finally in the motion again. They're bringing back the idea to do all this emulation work and finally bring all of PS1 and PS2 and PS3 over to the PS Now service, which is what the original promise was. The original promise was to bring all of the PlayStation home into the service.
Is Game Pass trying to accomplish the same thing?
Yeah, but the drive is different. So while PS Now was made as a preservation thing, the Game Pass seems to be more of like a library of games curated and catered to people that want the newest stuff, right? What I've been seeing is that PS Now, what they've been doing is they've been focusing so far on preservation and, you know, getting the classics and the hits on there, so people have a selection of all the games that they want to play forever or whatever it could be that they want. But what Xbox is doing is that they're trying to get everything that's new and just shoving it into the system. So it's running a bit differently in the same. It's the same idea. It's just running with a different business model, or at least like goal.
Basically, one is like virtual backwards compatibility, and the other one's just like GameFly.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. Like they both do it. Don't get me wrong. Like Xbox has a bunch of games from Xbox 360 and Xbox Original and stuff that you can play and stuff, and they've been doing that for years. But the way that Sony's doing it specifically is different. We're more like trying to preserve their games, or at least that's what the initial story was. We don't know what managers are gonna do, if they're gonna switch it to be more like Game Pass to compete more. But as far as I know, like even all the things that we're talking about, $60 a year isn't bad for 700 games, right? You can just play and access whatever you want whenever you want, and you can play it on the go. As far as I know, I think PS Now is on mobile. If not, you can just remote in through the PlayStation. So there's a lot of good things there, which I think is pretty beneficial. And also, Sony has been doing some crazy things too. I don't understand why this is the second time that they've gotten rid of a community-driven thing. Because the first time was PlayStation Home. I don't know if you remember, but there was like this open world Sims-like game where you can create your character and then you just go into this world and talk with people and stuff. That was called PlayStation Home. It was an actual game that you can play, and I think it was free to play, but you could, like, you know, buy stuff in it or whatever. They closed that down when the PS4 came out, but they created PS Communities, which is essentially like iPhone's calendar thing where you can send people events and stuff and like have group chats and all that, for like a connection with other people. And then
for specific games, right? Because I think I accidentally joined the God of War community one time or something.
Yeah, you can do it for anything. You can create basically your own forum of things on the PS4. It's like your own Reddit, basically, like PlayStation Reddit almost. But then they canceled that recently. But then they bought Evo Online. So it's like, I don't know what they're doing, but it seems like they're again trying to flip the wheel again, you know, trying to see what they land on now. Because now they just bought a massive tournament for fighting games, which, I mean, I don't know if Sony's now going to start supporting fighting games, if they're going to start paying more for fighting games, if they want to be the fighting game home console. But I do find it interesting that they got rid of all these community things that they've been building up for years, and then they're just buying a new one. You know?
I don't know. I haven't looked into the details myself, but I know that for the last generation, every single fighting game tournament has basically been done on the PlayStation 4. I remember back when it was PS3 and Xbox, like Street Fighter would always be done with Xbox. Mortal Kombat was done on Xbox. Everything was done on Xbox. And then all of a sudden, the PS4 rolls around. I don't know if Sony's been helping Evo. Maybe Sony's always invested money into Evo and we just don't know anything. But I remember for the last generation, PS4, like, Street Fighter was done on the PlayStation 4. Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, Tekken, all the fighting games are all done on PS4. So I don't know what's going on there, but maybe there was always some support on their part, and then with everything that's been going on, they've just been struggling, and Sony decided to step in finally.
They've been mixed struggling.
Huh?
They've been mixed struggling against Microsoft, so they're just buying. They're trying to compete with money, but it's just not the same, right? Microsoft just drops 10 bills whenever they want, which we're going to talk about too. The fact that they're supposedly it's finally starting to set in where by next month they might announce that they purchased Discord, which is that's insane to me. That again, they're doing the Skype thing where they just buy a whole other service. But going off of that, another thing too that Sony's doing is that they bought Funimation on top of the fact that they own Crunchyroll. So now it's like they own all of anime pretty much. And it's also interesting to me because they just got supposedly they just restructured their Japan studio, because the Japan studio wanted to make more like Japan centric games, but Sony wants them to be more westernized, like Last of Us and all that. To they obviously want their AAA hits, right? So it's kind of weird how like on one front they stop supporting it, but on another front they just buy something else that supports it, and it's like this back and forth. But again, these are all benefits to the gamer, right? If you're on PlayStation, you got 3 months of Funimation for free. That's crazy. If you love anime, 3 months free trial, that's quite a bit, right? Normally you get a week or 2 weeks, but now you're getting a whole freaking, a whole quarter, a business quarter essentially for free, just for being a part of it. And it's also included in this Play at Home initiative. So again, like just right now, like for PlayStation, it's good to be a gamer because you're getting all this stuff.
Well, I actually have a bone to pick with that because I actually don't think that's too much of a good deal at all. Personally, just because, I mean, like, yeah, maybe if you already have that service and you could somehow retroactively make it so that you could get those 3 months and then just back out, or you're just going to continue paying it because you were before. But I'm also not a fan of the super huge push of subscriptions on all parts, because if you're someone who, if you have the fear of missing out and you want to be a part of all of them, that's starting to add up to be quite a monstrous bill as well, And a lot of the times we both have experience with selling subscription services. We know that the statistics on people remembering to cancel like trials and stuff is pretty poor. A lot of the times just kind of let it slide. And
yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I mean that's just everything, right? Even Microsoft's doing their own thing with subscriptions. Everything is subscription based almost now, right? You got Netflix,
I know,
Hulu.
but I'm just,
if you're an anime fan, you get Crunchyroll.
You see it as a benefit, and I see it kind of more as like I'm
seeing a benefit because they're getting all this access to things. It's up to people to get what they want, right? They're not tricking anybody. They're telling you get 3 months free, like in bold letters, and then they say subscription continues if you want it, right? That's just how it is. Now, because you're a Sony fan, you're getting these 3 extra months. I don't think the 3 month applies to PC or people outside of the Sony ecosystem. It's because you're here, we're going to give you this extra stuff because of Play at Home. Like the purposes of this initiative is to give you incentives or incentivize you to stay home and be safe and all that. So these are all benefits at the moment because of this offer that they're giving, and I think that's good for the gamer to have all these decisions, to have this freedom to pick what they want when they want it, and then you pay for what you want, right? If you just want the anime stuff, then just go for the anime stuff. If you want all the games, the games are free.
What I mean is just even the nature of how a lot of these subscriptions work is kind of predatory, because like let's say when it comes to like your power bill, your water bill, your credit card bills, if you don't pay, what tends to happen is that they remove the service from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to these things such as, like your Netflix, gym membership, Funimation, all that stuff, most of like the payments are going to go through as long as you have the money, obviously. And then at the end of your trial, they could have the option to just, automatically like just stop letting you have the benefit until you pay. But obviously they set it up so that it just keeps charging you and charging you.
Well, yeah, that's why there's always a checkbox where it's like set up auto pay or don't do it, right? That's why they give you the option, because obviously if they didn't give you the option, that would be illegal. But they give you the option. Or at least, the good companies like Netflix and stuff, they give you the option. Do you want to opt in afterwards or not, right? Now I understand where you're coming from, which is again where people like me, and there's a community of people like me who prefer to just buy these games and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, it's like, what if Game Pass is great, but what's gonna happen when they raise the prices? Are you just gonna suck it up and pay the extra money, and then if you don't pay the subscription, you lose access to all the games that you were happy to play in the first place, right? So these are all questions that are coming, but like what I'm saying is, if you know how to jump on the offer, at least for the time being, these are good offers that you can always opt out of, right? You're not forced to.
I would just tell people to also make sure that if they're doing any of this, to jump in with caution, because
exactly.
I just fear. I mean, you were right. You called this. I don't know how long it's been. You've been saying this a year or two or something now, but the whole like cloud wars and all that basically the fight's gonna stop being about hardware, and then it's just gonna try to be
exactly
about what you could do with software, I suppose. It's going in that direction, but it's just kind of scary because, like, as someone, you know how I am, I'm ferociously pro-consumer. I just don't want to see people getting duped and having all their hard-earned money be siphoned by all these different subscriptions.
I think in the long run, the fact that Sony's also behind on this race is a benefit to them in that regard, because they're giving the option, whereas Xbox is heavily pushing the whole Game Pass in their marketing. It could dupe people that aren't aware of these things, right? There could be a day when people, like, you remember, look, this is called duping right here, and I know people are gonna confide about it or whatever, but an employee that I used to work with at one of my previous jobs, which I know you remember him, we called him Little Lewis, right? He specifically didn't know that you could play games offline on Xbox. He thought that you had to be online always, and that's why he stopped playing, because he's like, I can't pay the subscription. It took me a week to convince him to look on Google and find out which games are and aren't, because Microsoft had completely marketed the original Xbox One as a service subscription only, like you have to be online always. So he didn't know. And then again, this marketing of Game Pass could push people to believe, oh, if I don't get Game Pass with Xbox, I might not be able to play. That's not true, right? And there's a couple benefits there with what they're doing now, where they actually put aside their subscription for once and did the Sony thing, which is if the game is free to play, you don't have to pay subscriptions. This is something that Sony has been doing since the inception of the service. If the game is free, you don't have to pay the PS Plus. And that's what I'm trying to say too. Now, I get where you're coming from the subscription, but at least the Play at Home initiative is the 12 free games without subscription, no subscription, no extra paywalls, no nothing. It's 12 free games. You log in, you can buy them. I mean, get them for free, and you don't have to get anything else. If you have a free account, you make it on your PS app. Like, you don't even have the console. You make your PS app account, you can own 12 free games just because they're free. So that's a good benefit for gamers. Now, if we're going to jump into the Microsoft side, again, one benefit I just talked about was the fact that they finally chopped off the subscription. So it's like, if I want to play Warframe on Xbox, I don't have to pay for Xbox Live anymore. Or Xbox Network, because they just changed the name to Xbox Network.
Not the best name change in my opinion.
Not the best name, and not necessarily. It's kind of like
PlayStation. Like, isn't that what the PSN's called? PlayStation Network.
Yes.
Are they just trying to go for, like, I don't know? That's a very ambiguous business move there. Getting people confused or something.
I guess they're just trying to merge all their services, right? Because then you got Xbox Live Gold Pass, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, Xbox Game Pass with Xbox Live. I don't know. They have a bunch of different services.
So streamlining it.
Yeah, so streamlining makes sense. It's just that they had to pick network. Like, come on, that's like straight up like just saying, like, copying, Sony, but whatever.
I guess that's just power moves,
Yeah, they're just
getting
putting
back into the race.
It's kind of like that one time when we had our friend Danilo here, or like at your other house or whatever, and then Dino went up to him and put his paw, and he was like, "Let me show you maximum superiority." That's literally what Microsoft is doing right now. They're just like
dominance.
Yeah, let me just assert my dominance here with my money.
It makes me feel like all the previous console generations or whatever, like for the quote unquote console wars, were kind of like World War I, World War II type deals, but then this is kind of like the Cold War. Because you're not hearing too much, like, in terms of, like, like how hyped up it used to be. It seems more like very, like, just low down plays, like, oh, let's put this patent out there for emulation, and oh, look, we're gonna rename to Xbox Live, and oh, we bought Discord, and it seems like but that's what I'm saying. Before it used to be this box is better or that box is better. Now it's just, I have more games here, or I have more games there, and that's what I've been trying to tell you. It's shifting to software, because it's all like it's becoming, like you've been saying, consoles becoming irrelevant. The whole Sony Microsoft thing isn't about my box is better than yours. It's my IPs are better than yours. That's the whole thing. PC's endlessly upgraded. Whether consoles continue to exist or not, it all depends on whether there's a market for it. But it all depends on the services that are provided on it, right? And even if the consoles become irrelevant in terms of, like, you wanting the highest quality and stuff like that, these corporations can continue to excuse the production or the existence of consoles simply because of the fact that they're raking in so much money with all these services that they're propping up as well.
Yeah, but
even if they don't sell as well as they used
Microsoft's already showing that they don't need the box, right? They just put the Game Pass on PC, and PC players are eating it up.
That's what I'm saying. They still produce the Xbox.
No, they do, because there's a market for it. They know that there's a market for it. They know that there's people that aren't going to buy a PC. They know that there's people that don't like playing on, that they don't want to go to struggle of building their own stuff. They know there's a market for it, and there's always going to be a market for it. Like I said, it's convenience, right? Like there's too many on PC. There's a lot of things that could go right, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong because it's such a free, open source system, right? The concept of the console is that it comes to you. It's pre-made. Here you go. You already bought what you paid for. You know, be done with it. And that's a different dynamic. Now, Microsoft's also doing a bunch of other things, right? So unlike Sony, what they're doing, what Microsoft's doing is doing what they do best, grabbing the amount of money that they have been making for years and just throwing it everywhere. So whereas Game Pass, before you had to pay an extra $5 to play EA only titles, right? Because EA has their own subscription. Now it's like they just paid EA and they were like, give us 60 of your games and we're just going to toss it into the console. So they just got a bunch of EA games, and then supposedly rumors are that they're working on Ubisoft, and they're working on getting Discord on top of everything that they're doing, which is getting all of Bethesda games into the consoles.
And is that an exclusivity deal that they're doing? Like, oh, if EA and Ubisoft say yeah, then it's not going to go on PS Now, or
no. So think about it like this: Xbox Game Pass, the way it was before, it was $120, and you paid $5 for EA Play, right?
Right.
But the way it is now is that they just paid for it. So when players pay the $120, they get access to EA Play. The way that Sony is that it's $60 a year to get PS Now, and then $5 for EA Play. So you're still paying less to get everything. It's just that you have to buy it as a separate subscription, right? The problem is that, of course, $60 plus $5 a month, still $60 a year. So that's still 60 plus 60, 120. It's the exact same deal, pretty much, right? Now, the thing is though, is that they're doing that for free. So I thought originally that it was going to be like Hulu, where you buy into the main service that you want, and then you just pay the subscription extra per company that you want, right? Because I know Ubisoft has theirs, which is extremely overpriced at $15 a month. I think that's BS. That their company would be pricier than Microsoft's or Sony's. But if they do get included in the Xbox Game Pass without the subscription, that's actually something that's pretty interesting. Because consolidating subscriptions into one thing versus having them bought separately is a totally different ballgame. I thought this service is going to go the Hulu route, where you just buy into whatever you want. But it seems like they're doing the Netflix thing instead, where they're just going to spend a bunch of money and get as much as they can. Granted, people are finding this to be fun now, and yes, it's good now, but just remember, and I'm going to say it again, be cautious. What you've been saying, right? Because at any moment, they're going to do the Netflix thing, and it's like, oh, it's an extra $1 a month. Then it's like, oh, we're raising the price again. We're raising the price again. And before you know it, you're paying $20 a month. You know? So it's like, people have to be very, very careful with that. What's coming. But for now, it's good for the Microsoft consumer and the PC gamer, right? You pay this one subscription. Supposedly there's a $30 offer for 4 months. So you save $10 essentially. And then you can just play Battlefield. You can play Jedi Fallen Order. You can play Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. You can play a bunch of games on Game Pass. I think this is a benefit to all gamers right now for Xbox as well, and PC.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that, man. It's just what you said. You do have to exercise caution when it comes to subscriptions, because we just know that subscriptions is basically the new model to go for. You know, one-stop shopping kind of been dead for a bit, because you always got your stuff like Amazon and stuff like that. So I don't know, subscriptions has been the thing for a while now, ever since Netflix kind of just rose up, and we just don't want corporations to get carried away. But for me, the main concern is, and especially with the gaming industry, is that for some reason, even specifically just within the gaming industry, they always just seem to get carried away, right? Like, you remember loot boxes first came out, they were harmless, sort of, and then everyone started picking up on them, and then they became not so harmless. So that's my main concern, is that people always see something that could be of a benefit to consumers.
It gets sold as a benefit, but then it's not,
and
right?
Then they find a way to abuse it, and it quickly becomes a detriment rather than a help. So we just have to, I think as consumers, we should just keep our eyes on what especially Sony and Microsoft are doing, and hold them accountable for whatever they decide to do, especially in trying to compete with one another.
What?
I have a comment over there. I don't know if you want
to... Oh, we do?
Read it.
Let me get on YouTube.
Hello there, viewer. Welcome to the stream. How you doing?
My bad.
Nah, that's all right. Okay. All right. So Black Withered Rose 09 says, Mike, your microphone keeps cutting out a little. Rip. Goodbye to 30 minutes of recording. I adjusted some of my settings, so that might be why.
Well, look. All right. So we've been going on and off about the subscription stuff. While I find it to be a good thing, and you might find it to be a little. It all depends on the caution of the consumer, right? It's up to them to decide whether they want to.
Let me know if this sounds any better, by the way.
Yeah, it's up to them whether how they want to spend their money and all that stuff, and that's, I guess that's the good stuff of what I'm trying to say today, and why being a gamer today is so great, right? Because you have so many options, and now, as we were just talking about in this the Cold War of gaming, or in other words, the IP wars, the cloud wars, these companies are now ramping up to give us more bang for our buck. We just saw two. I saw one, and then half of the Xbox one kind of annoyed me because there was too much advertisement in between. But there's essentially 2 indie showcases this week alone about almost like 50 plus games that are coming out just this year alone. Plus, like, Sony's been pushing their own thing, and they did their own indie showcase, and they're doing their own narrative, trying to provide for their fan base. There's a lot of things coming out. And my wallet, honestly, I don't know where to throw it. I want to throw my wallet somewhere, and I just don't know where to start because there's just so many great things. Off the top of your head, like, what are you excited for this year? Like, I just want to get. We've been talking about Sony exclusives, but just erase Sony exclusive for a second, and just in general, like, think about all games coming out, and just what are you excited for this year from what you've seen?
Well, one of the ones that stick. I mean, I remember we were watching. I don't know if it was the Game Awards or something. They're making all these game announcements and stuff, and I just remember not feeling that excited for a lot of things. So there's only a few key titles that kind of stick out to me. Kenna Bridge of Spirits was one. I'm not gonna lie, Returnal, I'm kind of like meh about. Like, I'm like interested, but I'm also kind of cautious about it. So Kenna, definitely excited for. Back 4 Blood is one that I'm a bit more excited for as well. Okay, so one big thing for me is all the Star Wars stuff. I don't know when that's gonna come out. Probably not this year, but I do know that all the Star Wars announcements got me excited. So I'm just waiting to hear more about that. Because I'm a big Star Wars fan. The Lego Star Wars game, which looks amazing and actually looks like a AAA title.
I low key like, not even look. Let me explain that correctly. Okay, I feel on the down low that game is gonna be okay. So last year, Ghost of Tsushima was like the underdog game that everyone kind of dismissed, but ended up being a real gem. I think this year it's gonna be the Luke Skywalker saga, or whatever they're calling it, the Skywalker saga, where it's literally like it's gonna be downplayed till the end of the year, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be this amazing gem where it just has all these amazing things that people didn't realize, and it's gonna be like the gem of the year, right? Like last year, Ghost of Tsushima was a gem. It was like the underdog. Like no one really cared about it, and then it just came out of nowhere because everything else was on top of it. I mean, all the indie games blew it out of the water. I know you sang praise. You literally praised Phasmophobia and all these other games, but the one game that was heavily disregarded was Ghost of Tsushima, and it ended up being a gem. So this year, I think it's going to be the Skywalker saga, and because of just what they're doing. What they've been doing so far is they've been doing open worlds, right? But what they did with the Batman 3, I think, is that they did minor hub worlds. So if what I think is going to happen is true, this Skywalker saga is going to be where you get to fly to each planet, and they're each one going to have like their own small subset of hub explorable world, and that's going to be crazy.
It could be. I don't think they've shown off too much for us to necessarily know exactly how it's going to function, but I think that the big thing that you're saying where it's going to be an underdog game is probably accurate, just because I feel like not that many people give credit to the Star Wars game, like the Lego games. I remember when Cyberpunk kind of shot the bed last year, people brought up that some of the AI functioned better. I don't know I think it was in like Lego City or something like that, and it was almost bringing it up as a point where like, oh look, Cyberpunk's so bad because even Lego City beat it. But I mean, to be fair, if you compare the Lego games to how they started with like Lego Star Wars and stuff, compared to what they are now, they're starting to look more and more like AAA titles. Like
exactly. And one thing that's crazy to me, another thing that people don't know or realize, is that ever since they started the Skywalker project, they stopped releasing games. They used to release almost 2 games a year. Like they would release fast, right? Like they had 2 groups and it would be fast releasing like left and right. I think somewhere when they started trying to do the toys as a service, games as a service thing with Lego Worlds, they slowed down for a minute and they reevaluated when that project kind of canceled or they closed it down. And there hasn't been, I can't remember the last Lego game that came out. I think the last Lego game that came out was in 2017 or something like that, which is like Lego Jurassic World. And that was it. That was it. So, or Lego Jurassic Park, sorry. So they've been cooking up something for about 4 years now. This is going to be their big comeback story, right? It's all riding on this because they haven't released anything substantial in years. I think personally that's going to be the gem of the year. So I agree with you. I'm excited for that game. Which reminds me, we got to get started on all the PS4 Lego games, man. We left freaking Marvel there. I bought Marvel and the day it came out in Christmas, and I just left it in my freaking vault of games I'm never going back to, clearly.
If you guys would like to see me and Jordan like stream or like record our gameplay of like the Lego games as a co-op, let us know what you guys think. I mean, we are the Co-op Syndicate after all, right? That's kind of our name. And although we've been just focusing on the podcast, we would like to try to see if there was a way that we could diversify our content.
We should honestly start doing like what Game Grumps do, right? We got to start doing like co-op, like let's plays and stuff.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like just let's plays together. And just try and have a conversation, just be fun with it, right? I mean, we should. But...
I've seen some pretty interesting ideas that we could try to come up with like green screen, and if we could find like an audio interface that would let us plug in 2 of these bad boys, and we just sit on a couch, green screen behind this camera in front, and we just play on like on a TV while recording it, we could actually come up with some pretty interesting stuff. But that's a discussion for another time. Just if you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments if you'd like to see us start diversifying our content on here a little bit. If you guys are listening to us on Buzzsprout, you can always come to our YouTube, the Co-op Syndicate on YouTube, and find one of our videos and comment. Let us know what you think. Would you like for us to start doing some more video content with gaming and stuff, or are you okay with just a podcast for now? But anyway, yeah, man, Lego Star Wars looking pretty amazing, and we should probably start catching up with our backlog of Lego games. Because
I told you already, I'm catching up on my PS3 backlog. Granted, I've hit a kind of slump after I platinumed Infamous 2 on Friday. Yesterday, but I'm catching up.
Like, you have bad games left or something?
No. I left all the good stuff, the best stuff for the end, right? Or at least like the more, or like I left all the 2012, 2013 stuff for the end. So like I'd play the older ones first, and then I'd move up and the graphics and all that. Because all I have left, pretty much, well, I wouldn't say Fallout 3 is, modern, but I left the good stuff for the end, so like at least I could.
Well, Fallout 3 is just a good game, so it's more, you'd enjoy it at least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Dead Space 3, I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I'm upset that they closed down the company, so I might not plan them in as a show of I'm upset that you canceled the company, and I'm not gonna buy the expansion. But if I like it, I might. I don't know. It all depends. But I essentially have only about 14 games left, pretty much, and then. There's like 2 extra games I technically need to play on PS3, but I saw them on PS Now, so it's like I might as well just play them on my PS5. I'm just trying to get out of my PS3 as fast as I can. Like I'm trying to play as much as I can, get it out the way.
Take advantage that all these games are being postponed, man. It doesn't look like PS5 and Xbox One Series X are starting for a while.
Well, yeah, but no, that's not true. Returnal comes out at the end of next month.
One game.
I only have a month.
One game. Dude.
Oddworld in the same month. There's 2 games.
2 games.
Okay, and then Ratchet and Clank the following month. That's 3. These are all games that are 30
For
to 40
you,
hours.
That's nothing, man. I've seen you play games. You're like
at the pace that I'm playing.
You did Infamous 2 in like 2 days, bro. That's nothing for you.
Yeah, but I did it
in a week.
But to be fair, I did it in 3 or 4 days because I had already done the good side in 2011. I already did half the game in 2011. So I mean, you gotta think about that. I get where you're coming from, but even then, they're starting to show up, and that's also just those games. I'm not even considering the indie games that are coming out. Which, again, one of the games I'm excited for, Sifu. Or sorry, how that one guy said it's Saifu.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that, man. That was just not knowing. I guess.
Oh man, I don't know who would pronounce it Saifu.
Yeah, but let's be fair. You have your fair share of Jordanisms and mispronunciations too. But that one just hurt me. I guess just because of the fact that we've been more aware of how to actually pronounce it just from our consumption of martial arts movies and.
Oh yeah, but look, Sifu is one game I'm pretty excited to play. Hands down, that game out of nowhere. Like it's not a PS exclusive or whatever, but at least I don't think so. Or it might be.
That's not. PS
I think it might be like PS exclusive with PC. Like
it could be, I guess.
Like okay, let's just say it's exclusive to the Sony, people. Whatever.
Don't even bother trying to call exclusivity, because I've seen all the PlayStation ads and they're super misleading, dude. They always like, yeah, on PlayStation, and then literally at the bottom you just see like PlayStation, PC, Xbox.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
PS4,
they're always gonna promote. They're always gonna promote their stuff.
Yeah, but just don't. What I'm trying to say is don't try to think of it off the top of your head, because you're probably gonna get it wrong 90% of the time, because they literally just try to present everything as if it is an exclusive.
I just have to do more research. But look, Sifu's one game I'm pretty excited for. I think that game is gonna be pretty interesting. It's not a first party game in its own right. It looks like my dream John Wick game, pretty much, where I get to just be this badass martial arts dude that just goes nuts, right?
Then I wish I would see a little bit more about the gameplay, because I still don't get how you're supposed to play that one.
I'll show you Absolver, their previous game, and I guarantee you're gonna understand what it is, and then you'll decide first. Anyways, we got that game. Then there's Stray, the game where you play as a cat in a cyberpunk world. I think that game's gonna be pretty interesting too. I know that one is an exclusive indie game, because that's an indie company owned by Sony. But I don't know. It's just you're a cat, right? And all these cool indie games are always like you play as a fox, or I just saw like 3 games where you play as an animal or whatever on the Future Game Show or Xbox Indie Show, and whichever one I saw. I saw the Future Game Show. So yeah, there's like 3 games where you play as a fox and another animal and whatever. So those are kind of cool, and Stray is going to be interesting because it's like that, but with AAA quality graphics, right? We're talking ray tracing and shadows and all this extra stuff that you don't normally see on any game. And even another game, Oddworld, right? I've never been in Oddworld. There's a lot of Sony like titles that you've shown me with Maximo and stuff that I missed out on entirely. Ratchet and Clank was one I missed out on. I got into it on PS3 and then I let it go because I didn't think anything of it until I replayed Ratchet and Clank 1, and now I fell in love with the series again and I want to go through all the games. Oddworld's another one where I'm gonna have to go buy the first game, redo it, see where it started and all that stuff, and then jump into the series. That's another game I'm excited for, and guess what? It's free. They're just giving it away for free. I don't know why they're doing this, but I guess they're doing it, right? Even then, another game. I mean, I am excited for all the games you mentioned. But another game too that I'm pretty interested in is I forget the name of it. But it's this game by one of the creators of Final Fantasy, where they grabbed actual dioramas, that they built dioramas with like the whole minuscule figures and real life sand and stuff that they put into the diorama. And they grabbed 3D cameras and they would take pictures, like hundreds of pictures of it, to recreate it in the game. So you're playing basically an RPG like Final Fantasy, but with real life dioramas as like the background, where you walk on them and stuff. It's like an weird AR game that they're doing. And the cool spin of it is that one thing that you and I hate about those old school RPGs is that whenever you're walking, you get into the random dungeons and then you get attacked by random enemies, right? This game has an interesting mechanic where you can press a button, it'll suck up all those random battles, and then whenever you're ready, you can just shove them all back to back, 1-to-1. So it'll be like a 10 room like you versus enemies or whatever.
That is so cool, because you can finally, like, honestly, like I'm all for challenge, but also at some point, like, you have to understand that a lot of these fights end up not even being challenging. All they end up really doing is just interrupting the flow of you exploring the dungeon constantly, and that's always been a grievance that I've had with those kind of JRPGs.
And now what you can do is you just push button, grab all the fights, put them into one giant fight, and just back to back, just like, and I think you can even speed it up, so it'll be like ×2 speed, and you'll just be like taking out all the enemies in one second.
Yes,
I think that's great. I like those games. I do find it annoying sometimes.
It's always giving you the option. It's giving you the option of how you want to play, which is always a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Like letting you enjoy your game, and your method of preference is always like something that I feel should be revered.
Exactly.
In game design.
So these are this is essentially all the things that I think that gamers should be happy about, that they're just gonna have so many options like that, to the point where they shouldn't have a downtime, right? I've been seeing a lot in the community complaints about like, oh, Destiny not fun now, or Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't give me new content.
Surprise.
Or this and that.
It's never been fun. No, I'm just playing.
It is what it is, right? But every game has its up and downs, right? That's the beauty of the game world, that you go on this emotional sometimes you can go on this emotional roller coaster, and then when you're done with your adventure, you're done, right? There's no way you can make anything last forever, and if you do, it's probably going to be dull and boring because you're doing it again and again. The fun of an experience is doing it that first time, and I think that's the toughest thing that games have been able to conquer, in a sense, because like when you watch a movie, 9 times out of 10 you're done with the movie, you you've already seen it. You almost don't want to go back and see it. It's very rare that you get maybe like a Marvel movie that you just really love and you want to see it again and again and again, right? But you get a game, and the better they do it, the more likely you are to come back, because there's so much creativity and replayability, which is something we've talked about. So I think that's something interesting that they've conquered.
I don't know. I mean, I know where the conversation is mainly focusing on that, but I don't necessarily agree with that. Like with games, it'd be easier over movies, because there's some movies that you're always just gonna come back to. And movies have a certain value to them as well.
I'm not putting one down or the other. I'm just making a comment of the fact that as a medium, it's been the one that's been most capable of doing that, right? To get you to come back because of the replayability and the fact that different things can happen.
I disagree.
Even multiplayer, like people go back to Call of Duty endlessly, despite the fact it's the same thing, because you endlessly have different events.
I feel like both mediums are both equally capable of doing it. Think about it this way: like when and this goes for every movie pretty much, especially if it's a good one. When I was trying out God of War on the PS5 at your house the other night, I started picking up on details of the story that I didn't the first time, and you were explaining to me your point of view and stuff too. So it just starts to get a little bit more meta with how you could enjoy different mediums multiple times. I rewatched The Dark Knight Rises for like the 4th time, 5th time yesterday after not seeing it for years, because I kind of wanted to refresh my memory on it. And stuff.
I agree. There's definitely exceptions in both mediums, right? There's always like that bad game that you never even want to touch again. Just like there's that bad movie that you never want to touch again. And like I said, there's exceptions in both. And movies, books is one thing because it's just written word, right? And then you read the book again, you might catch on a detail, but you already read everything. You're so focused. Then movies, you might catch up on a new detail after you watch it again, because you learn something new, right? And that's what I keep saying. I love going back to old games, because as I learn more about life, I get to understand more of the things that were told to me in that story or whatever. But I personally think gaming just has the most, because of the fact that it's such it has so much freedom, right? Like when you play COD, there's like nine different things that could happen to you in every split second. You know what I mean? You can come in from a different direction. You might pick up a different weapon, and it just, these things, whatever. We're going off on our own tangent. My point is that I think personally this is a good time to be a gamer because of all these things that are going on. There are so many options for us, and I think, for the most part, I know that there's some bad things out there, like, there's a semiconductor shortage, which at first I thought it was just Sony and Xbox. They're just buying so much from AMD that they can't keep up. But there's a legitimate semiconductor shortage that is causing all technology to not be mass produced. So it's not just consoles, like cars are having issues being produced. They don't have the semiconductors for the LCDs or for the electric cars. Refrigerators with LCD panels are getting, slowly, they're losing their production speed because of that. The iPhones are getting pricier because they don't have the semiconductors to produce it. So everything in the world right now is just kind of having its own issue right now with that. And despite all that, we're still seeing a lot of support for PS4, a lot of indie games coming out, a lot of support for even the Nintendo Switch. Like I know that the president of the company just went out and they made a showcase saying, hey, look, we believe in the Switch. We're going to start promoting more third-party games on it. We're going to start bringing more to it. I think this is just a good time to be a gamer.
Yeah, and on the note of having it be a good time to be a gamer, I know that the semiconductor shortage and GPU shortage and stuff has also been impacting the PC community. But the big meme with the PC community has always kind of been that, oh, don't buy a pre-build. If you buy a pre-build, you're stupid, because you go on Newegg, you can get all these parts, and you just build your PC yourself because it's the best thing ever. I think you and me both have differing views on that, or, well, not differing views, but yeah, we have differing experiences, because I kind of went with a pre-built from NZXT, and I loved my life, and you've kind of expressed to me that you've had issues with your PC from day one doing, I guess.
Well, yeah, but I've already had it for 7 years. Parts eventually die. Nothing is forever.
I know. All I know is that you've always expressed to me issues with it from day one. But whatever. I'm not trying to harp on that. The only thing I'm trying to say is that we're in a day and age where all these pre-builds took note of all the shortcomings that pre-builds used to have, and now you actually have plenty of excellent options to get to pick from pre-builds.
Yeah, exactly.
So even if the GPU shortage affects you in the sense of being able to build your own PC, now would be a great time to look into looking at getting some of the better
Well,
pre-builds
again,
out there.
but pre-built's going through the same issue because there's a semiconductor issue.
Yeah, but there's like a big storage of them because PCs don't necessarily like fly off the shelves as fast as consoles do due to like their more expensive nature anyway. And you know, there's a bunch of people that have older parts. If you want to go with NZXT, they still have a bunch of 3090s, 3080s, 3070s that they already ordered. So
I myself am considering just getting a cheapo SSD from my nearest retail store and possibly even just getting a 1080 and just waiting on the 3080 for a couple more months. I don't know whether I'm going to do that or not. I don't necessarily have the money to do that, but if I do, I don't think I'm going to do what I did last time, because last time when I did it, I just tried to buy the latest parts as much as I could. This time I might just save some money and, you know, just get like a regular PC or whatever that can just play everything, even if it's not like 120 FPS. Just for the simple fact that in the end, my Steam is full of old games, not new games. So whatever. But regardless, even then, like the Steam, another thing too that people are probably getting ready for is the Steam sales are about to come up shortly. Like the spring sale should probably be going on in a couple, like this week. If not, then soon. And then the summer festival is going to come up, and they're just going to blow it out of the water with a bunch of $1 games and stuff. So it's a good time to be a gamer. There's a lot of options. You know, hold tight. I guess it's just me saying like hold tight. I know you don't have a PS5. I was lucky enough to get one, but hey, like trust me. For as much as I love the PS5, you'll still have a bunch of fun with your PS4, right? Like don't feel bad. The PS5 is not there yet. Maybe at the end of this year finally, but at the moment right now, the only good thing I got out of my PS5 is that it plays all my PS4 games better. That's about it. And I mean, I'm a person who, I know Mike's different from me, but I'm a person who, I'll tell you, like if you can play a game, just play it. Just have fun with it. Don't stress yourself out. Even if it's 30 FPS, like yeah, sure, you're missing out on some more beneficial features, but at least your game's playable and you're still having fun, right? I'm one of those guys that's like, I'm not gonna harp on anybody because they can't get like 240 frames, whatever, you know. As long as you're having fun, play wherever you want. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it.
Yep, I think that's pretty fair. Was there any other topics you kind of wanted to talk about?
No, it's just I just wanted a happy note episode today. You know, I just wanted to show people that, yeah, because we see it all the time on Twitter. There's people like going off on each other. Oh, Xbox this, Sony that, or my stuff's better than yours. Like, dude, just be happy with it. They're all companies right now. They all want money, and the only way to give you money to get money from you is to give you good things. They know already that they have to give you good things. So your money's safe wherever you spend it. If you spend it on Xbox, you're getting a wonderful service with a bunch of awesome games. If you spend it on Sony, you're getting a bunch of awesome games and a service. You know, same thing. If you buy your Switch, heck, for the first time ever, I can say that Switch actually has games other than Nintendo exclusives. They have a bunch of Bethesda games, which I don't know how far that'll go with Xbox owning Bethesda, but they have a bunch of indie games coming to it. If you're a PC player, you got the best of all three worlds for the most part. So
with the whole, one thing I did want to talk about a little bit more is just, I feel like it's pretty crazy that Discord is being purchased by Microsoft, because if they get it on the Xbox, that's a pretty big game changer in terms of the ability to communicate.
This is the thing that's going. It's like what I've been saying. Like Xbox is throwing their money everywhere, right? They just bought Bethesda for $7 billion. Supposedly they're going to buy Discord for $10 billion. They just paid EA God knows how much money to get all their titles away from the EA subscription into the Xbox subscription. They might do Ubisoft. Supposedly they're going to buy Sega.
Damn, that's crazy.
There's a lot of Microsoft's pretty big on spending money, and I think they're
trying to juice up to become an IP titan pretty much.
Yeah, they're trying to catch up for sure, but it's not just catching up to Sony. They're also preparing for the bigger battle, which is the IP battle. Amazon, at any moment, they have the money to just, you know, buy a bunch of companies, whatever they want. Google does the same thing. Granted, Google and Xbox called it. Google just canceled all their first party companies for whatever reason. Or like, it's not working. We're not doing this. And their mentality is, we're just going to make a whole bunch of third party deals. And the first one they did was Ubisoft. So there's a lot of things going on in the industry, which again are all benefits to the gamer. It just depends which company does it the right way, right? Microsoft's been pretty good about it, but we had an instance a couple months ago where they were about to raise the Game Pass like $60 more, and people got upset at that. They're like, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't do it. But them saying, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't do it is really them saying we're gonna find another way to do it. It's gonna happen. There's no way they can pay all these companies off forever. Microsoft has the money, but they're not gonna do it at a loss either, right? They're a business. They're trying to make money.
Well, they could also just do it they could do it at a loss in an attempt to try to corner the market as well.
Yeah, they corner the market, but at one point they have to win back the profit. Otherwise, they're just hemorrhaging money, right? I mean, it's the Netflix thing, right? Where they're literally playing with depth. They're just like, we're gonna give ourselves depth for the rest of our lives, and then we're gonna pay it off monthly while continuously getting more depth to get the IPs. That's how they make their money, right? Because depth is one thing, but if you know how to run it, I've showed you before, if you know how to run with it, you could essentially make money and never have to pay it off. It's a big dark that way to think about it, about companies, but it's possible. So I think Microsoft's doing what they're doing right now. They're trying to do the Amazon thing where they're trying to undercut all the other game developers and stuff, or not the other game developers, like the companies like to sell the games so that they can corner the market. But then at one point, once they gain the majority share, they're just gonna pick back up.
Yeah, which is what we're trying to warn you guys about when I say be cautious. That's what I say. Like, obviously, if you see this as a good deal for you, jump in on it. Just protect yourself. Remember
that it could change at any moment.
Corporations a lot of the time.
Once you
good deals, but a lot of the time they also try
There's one thing I could say for all people who own physical, including myself, and it's a truth that will never change, right? Once you buy into subscription, you're surrendering yourself to that subscription service. They can do whatever they want, no matter what. I own my God of War on physical disc. So if Sony dies tomorrow and my console works offline, I could play God of War still because I own the physical disc. If I would pay the subscription, then I would lose it when Sony dies or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying Sony, but I'm not saying they're gonna. I'm just putting it out as an example. Tomorrow, if Game Pass decides to be $240 a year, you're gonna have to fork over that money, or you can't play those games anymore because you do not own them. They are not yours to own. So this is just like a cautious thing. It's like, it's a great deal. Just remember, again, if you don't own it, you got to play by their rules. You're playing into their rules now. It's up to them whether they want to keep the offer like that or they want to increase it. And they're gonna. There's no way they're going to keep it as low price of 120. And I'm saying low price, it's already expensive. But just a warning.
It's an exciting time. Just also one of great caution. You know?
Yeah, and actually now you mentioned the Discord thing. Yeah, so I know what they're doing. They're doing that to, which they have Skype or whatever. No one likes Skype.
Well, Skype was just always an atrocious piece of software, if you ask me. Discord has been far and away the best method of communication, even over Zoom. I don't know why. I guess Zoom just kind of took off because normies didn't know what Discord was. Or they kind of got scared of the fact that they saw a controller on there.
Zoom is just a call feature. It's literally just a professional thing for businesses.
But Discord can do everything Zoom can and more, and just better as well, because Discord has all that the audio like tools and stuff that can cut out background noise and has filters to make the microphone sound better.
I agree, but Zoom is just for like schools and stuff.
It picked up because let's be honest, it picked up because normies took focus on that. They didn't know what Discord was for.
Can Discord do like full classrooms and stuff?
Yeah, you could put however many people you want in
like 20 cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do research on that just to confirm. But if it can, then yeah.
Discord is far and away the best. It
probably just costs more than Zoom. That's probably what it is.
Free.
No, yeah, but at an enterprise level.
Huh?
At an enterprise level. Because remember, Zoom is what they're doing is just for businesses. Like I wouldn't use Zoom except for school. Because that's what it is. It's like they're selling it to the school as a beneficial service.
Nitro's only like, I mean, there's different plans or whatever, but it's not that expensive. I think people just didn't know about it, to be fair.
Oh, it is what it is. But that
it has more managing tools and stuff.
I think that's all just like they're doing all that for the sake of like combining their because of Game Pass. They want to combine the Xbox so you can just log into Discord and talk to PC, which again goes back to the thing where they want to like just play wherever you want, whenever you want. That's like their new marketing thing.
I was gonna say, just as a, because we were talking about it in the Console Wars episode, that one of my main gripes with playing on console is how crappy the chats are for both the Xbox, well, even the Nintendo. I don't even think the Nintendo has a party option. Then the in-games, like barely any games have in-game chat. So console just always handled chat pretty poorly. The fact that they're getting Discord, if Discord comes to Xbox, that's pretty great.
Well, Xbox had Skype.
Yeah, but that's
yeah, it's not bad. I like the Sony one. I thought, other than the fact that it didn't have the voice thing, it was pretty simple. You just click a name, you just log in, and that's it, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't the best quality and all that.
Yeah, but it's about convenience, you know. Like now we're getting all these extra features. That's how technology works.
Yeah, Discord honestly is gonna be a big one for people who play on Xbox.
My thing on it now is that it's gonna be an Xbox exclusive service, so Sony's not gonna be able to do that. And even the fact that Sony was never gonna do it because they weren't gonna pay, but now it's like
just literally copy it, make something similar.
Yeah, but that's work. We gotta wait and see what they're gonna do.
What $1 trillion company? Do it.
They're $1 billion. Microsoft's $1 trillion. They're different. We'll see what happens. But the point is that they're buying it, so it's gonna be interesting. We gotta Sony right now is doing the one thing that everyone wants them to do, which is give us more games. But they do eventually have to kind of answer to some of the features that Microsoft's doing because they're pretty great and they're worthwhile, and it's definitely bringing people into their corner. I know that Sony isn't just gonna bend over and let them happen, let it happen that, you know, Microsoft's gonna take over, because they have. If you look at the market share, right, out of the gaming industry right now, Sony has the biggest amount of income for gaming. Like, it's just known that their division is the most profitable one in gaming by a margin. Like, literally, Nintendo and Microsoft together are about the same as Sony's total. So I know they're not gonna just let it go. And I know the Sony CEO, like headquarters, they said that they're gonna prioritize their gaming division because it's been such a, you know, bright mark in their company and all that.
Yeah, well, it's what you were saying too, is that you know, competition is always good because it always ends up breeding higher quality products. Like, I know that Discord, even if you just leave the chat aside, you get more management features for your party and stuff with Discord. The streaming that you could do on Discord, like for sharing your screen and stuff, is infinitely better than the one that both Xbox and PlayStation previously had. So that's
what screen sharing?
Okay, so if you're on Discord, I could literally either show you what I'm doing on my screen, or obviously if you're just doing it on Xbox, you're going to be playing games. I could just stream my games to you, but actually at a good quality compared to like what you were able to do on like the PlayStation and the Xbox previously without Discord. Basically, Discord took all these concepts that the consoles played with previously, but they got it really high quality.
Are you talking about share play?
No, not share play, just streaming. Like, just streaming to a one person or multiple people. Discord does it way better. So it's just, you know, something that hopefully
all the consoles do is just Twitch.
Huh?
All they do is Twitch and YouTube.
I could have sworn
the only other streaming service that you can do aside from those two is SharePlay.
SharePlay.
But SharePlay, what it is different, and it's only on PlayStation. What it is I stream the game to you, but you're actually playing it.
Yeah, no.
That's a different thing. That's remote play.
So that's pretty cool then, because with Discord now you have the ability to stream to your gameplay to specific people within your party and stuff, and at a high quality as well.
That is actually cool, because then I don't have to start off my Twitch.
Yeah,
which is kind of annoying. Or my YouTube, but
it's cool stuff. Honestly, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you could manage Discord servers from your Xbox too, which is something that's really neat as well. But then that also beckons the question: how would Sony challenge that? Are they gonna have to make like a
that's what I'm saying, right?
Discord
they had their own
communities with.
They had their own communities thing, and then they nixed it, right? So I don't know what Sony's doing. These are the things that, you know, they have us.
They have to answer for.
Yeah, me as a Sony, I'm a big Sony fan. I'll always rep Sony. Like, I'll be the hand kill Sony whenever I want. Like, I'll be like, you know, Sony and Sony accessories wherever I go, right? I'll be PlayStation and PlayStation accessories. That doesn't mean I don't acknowledge all the other things. The PC is great. Every time I get my PC, and whenever I have a working PC, I get sucked into it. I love gaming wherever I play. If I ever get a Switch, I'm fairly certain that on the road it'll replace my 3DS, and I'll be playing Legend of Zelda and all that stuff, 100%. And if I don't know about Xbox, but if I get an Xbox and I get Game Pass, I'll probably just end up playing a bunch of different games whenever I want. The reason why I stick with Sony is just because I'm already, you know, I've been there forever. My account's been there the longest, and I have all the trophy collection, right, that I've spent so much time collecting. But aside from all that, what they're doing with Discord, there has to be an answer to it. What they're doing with Game Pass, there has to be an answer. Sony needs to fess up if they want to stay in the game. Now, I understand that Sony's not Microsoft money, but that doesn't change the fact because they're both profiting enough to the point where they can compete with each other at what Microsoft's doing. Like Microsoft's spending like $10 million here and there or whatever. Sony has the equity to do that. They're just doing something different. I've mentioned this hundreds of times on the podcast. I've discussed this hundreds of times with everyone, and people always disregard it. The reason why Sony isn't just quick to jump is because they already had a bunch of pre-made deals for exclusives. They already spent all their money on different things. Where Microsoft concentrated all their money on one purchase.
They were pretty quiet up until now.
Exactly. They've been focusing to do these big purchases, whereas Sony has been paying exclusives for years. They'd never had a chance to accumulate enough for one. They've just been spending it everywhere. Another big thing that they did is that they started off the China initiative, which people keep forgetting about. That there's like I guess like 20 studios that Sony funded all the way in China, and they're not even exclusive. They're just like, we're gonna fund it just to give you guys the opportunity to make. So they're not even paying for the exclusivity. They're literally paying people just to start a new market. Essentially, they started buying things off on the side. Funimation, Crunchyroll. They brought Crunchyroll 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. They've been buying.
And something that's pretty cool about the Chinese the China initiative, by the way, was that sometimes it's a good move to make because sometimes places that are ignored can kind of be a good place to find hidden gems. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like
exactly.
if we're used to just getting all our games from North America and Japan, you know, we might have gotten stuck in a certain mentality to only see game development in a certain way.
Exactly.
Whereas if you start bringing in people from different, you know, countries and stuff, you're actually allowing there to be more worldviews and differing opinions come in to make your game. Like, I don't know if you remember Flappy Bird, but I think that was made by someone in Thailand or whatever, you know?
Yeah,
obviously.
There's like different cultures and they start bringing their thing. Like now, I mean, I'm so tired of the same, you know, the same thing, right? Assassin's Creed is great, but they have yet to touch on all the other awesome things. They've only touched on, what is it, France, Italy. They finally touched on, like, you know, Egypt and all the other places in the newest one. But
all they touched on gameplay wise is viewpoints, collectibles,
yeah, exactly,
chase missions,
exactly. But that's my thing. Like, we've had that, and then we've had the GTA modern storyline, and maybe sometimes I've been waiting for a Cyberpunk game for years, and I got Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm like, no.
I'm sure there's a lot of Cyberpunk games. Probably not in the same fashion of Cyberpunk.
There are, but like I've been waiting for more games of that, right? These are genres that people haven't touched on, that are ripe for being touched on. And not only that, culture. You know, I can only claim like 2 or 3 games that have ever released with the Journey to the West. One of them being The Last of Us, which doesn't count. So having now the Wukong game and this culture of Chinese culture coming into the gaming industry is a breath of fresh air. It's a whole new world to explore with different stories that can be told. I mean, we've had the same Japanese versions of everything or the American versions of everything, but now we get the Chinese version, right? And I think that's going to be pretty interesting, personally. So, by the way, I'm going to say it out there again. I literally just said that Last of Us is a journey to the West, so prove me wrong, but it's Journey to the West.
Yeah, you kind of told me about that theory. I don't want to necessarily get into that right now because that just seems so like
we'll do it, Sergio.
Far-fetched.
We'll do it, Sergio. Well, after we play Last of Us 2, after we do Last of Us 2, we'll do it, Sergio.
Yeah, you're right. We should talk about that at some point. You know what? I was actually thinking because I've actually been having a hard time streaming. My internet isn't being as good as I hoped. My computer struggling to like run games and stream it at the same time. So like, I'm thinking I actually might just do gaming YouTube for a bit instead. Give you a little competition over there.
What competition, dude? I'm getting some views, but it's not like the algorithm still doesn't trust me.
I'll be a raindrop in your ocean of gameplay competition, so I'll just add a little water droplet to also be there as well. But,
I don't even know what I'm doing right now.
I'm considering just also playing games as well and seeing. I'm just gonna get through like my backlog because my backlog is way smaller than yours, but I feel like you have a lot more discipline to play your games. I
don't, because every time I say something, I just get stuck on. I just get stuck on Destiny.
You literally crapped on half of Infamous 2 and 3
Yeah,
days.
but I had to force myself.
I have one drawer of games. Yeah, that's called discipline.
That's
I have a
not
drawer of
discipline.
games,
I had
and
to
I've only
force
played like 10 of the games.
I had to
there.
give up everything else I'm working on just to do that, and that's not. I have my own battles with my own issues or whatever. I mean, that's just me. I get where you're coming from, but no. If I had discipline, if I had effing discipline, I would have been caught up already on my PS4 stuff too, which is a whole other set of games that I have yet to.
Yeah, but you did it to yourself because I've seen the games you forced yourself to play too, and I'm just like, why?
No, there's a lot of good games there.
Yeah, but there was also a lot that weren't.
Yeah, but those are usually like 4 hours long. And
don't even get me started. Sometimes you try to platinum like zombies and all this other stuff, and we need people for that.
I stopped doing that. I don't care anymore. If it's multiplayer, I'm not doing it.
As a quick side note, talking on the topic of this year being a good year to be a gamer, for those of you who got into Call of Duty for its classic gameplay, World War II storytelling and all that, they're actually speculating that this year's Call of Duty might be another World War II one.
No, they already confirmed it.
Yeah, which is hopefully going to be a lot better than the last Call of Duty.
They already confirmed that, and on top of that, it's going to be done on the. It's going to be done. They're going to get rid of their own engine, and they're just going to use the Modern Warfare engine because it's just the best.
Yeah, boy, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I keep telling you. Use one engine, make 3 games as a service. Just give us expansions. Don't make us pay full price for the same game every year.
Well, yeah, but I agree with you finally because I kind of came to see it in a different light, but. Just be very specific with it. I'm not like that's not turn every game to Destiny because I hate that model. That model should die. Yes. I hope that Bungie moves on from that.
I'm not saying that.
If you hit gold, it might be better to build upon that gold rather than trying to release a yearly entry.
If Modern Warfare was great, every other COD after Modern Warfare should just be an expansion to Modern Warfare. It should just be one conglomerate
until
they make something until they make something better. But the fact that they did Cold War, it means that they have to patch a different game, work with a different type of engine in a different way with its own problems. And it's completely unrelated to Modern Warfare. But so every fan that loves Modern Warfare has to go to the new stuff.
Though, because I personally prefer Modern Warfare, right? But Cold War is I think it's the best selling Call of Duty of all time. So
for sure.
I think so. I think I read something like that. So a lot of people
dislike Cold War.
Huh?
A lot of people have disliked Cold War over Modern Warfare. I've been going back to Modern Warfare. It came
out a little bit like glitchy and stuff, but it wasn't like as horrible as like Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
All that stuff got patched out, and all the issues that it had are pretty much gone.
Okay.
And I think it's the best-selling Call of Duty of all time.
Well, I think it's because Modern Warfare was so good. Like people saw that and they expected Cold War to be better.
But I mean, Cold War. So like to be fair, graphically, I think Cold War is kind of close to Modern Warfare, but there's a lot of places where it actually surpasses like Modern Warfare. So like Modern Warfare had like the cool like mounting system and stuff like that kind of that you have in like what's it called, RR6, Rainbow Six Siege and all that.
Okay.
But the water physics in Cold War are a lot better than they are in Modern Warfare. So it's kind of like they did like a trade-off and stuff in some certain aspects. And I don't know if a company like Activision's going to look at that and be like, you know what? Modern Warfare was really good. Let's just kind of stick with that.
But that's the thing. You're supposed to listen.
Warzone is kind of the example of that, I guess.
You're supposed to listen to your community. If your community's telling you and they're screaming at the top of their lungs, Modern Warfare was better, you should just capitalize on Modern Warfare.
The community's been split for so long. I feel like ever since they took up the 3 developer cycle, the Call of Duty community's just been split on what they want. Most people were crying for boots on the ground for the longest while, but I know people like our friend Daniel. He was a big fan of Black Ops 3.
Right. No, that I understand, but that's again, if they would just do one game, you don't have this problem, right? Because then you have one playlist where you get to jump around like a maniac. You get one playlist where your boots on the ground. And then you get your zombies, your spec ops, and your story all in one game, and then people are just spending endless money on this one title.
Here's the thing. So let's talk about it both ways, because we brought this up, I think, in one of our past episodes. I forget which one. Maybe the games as a service one, right? Just to touch up on the subject, because why not? We previously had mentioned Modern Warfare as obviously being a mega success, and then Cold War at first was kind of shaky when it first came out. And the talking point that we used to have was that clearly they should have just focused on Modern Warfare because it was such a success, and now obviously they would have avoided the whole Cold War thing. But it turns out that it made them more money going to Cold War. But you also have to look at the other side of the coin, where for the longest time, they had all these games scheduled between the 3 developers, and people were starting to get real tired of the future of the futuristic gameplay and all that, but they had already scheduled these two they were already multiple years into the development of these futuristic games, and then that's when you get games like scenarios like Black Ops 4 where they canceled the whole game because they were trying to do something else, and then no one ended up liking that one outside of what's it called, Blackout.
Well, yeah, but that was also a mess in itself.
We don't like Advanced Warfare, but then also you already scheduled like Black Ops 3 and then the next futuristic one, and then you can't turn that back. So you're gonna hurt those 2 years because you already developed these games pretty much.
Exactly. But what I'm trying to say is it's just quite simple. And I could draw it on a piece of paper, right? So let's say you start off with Modern Warfare. Let's go back, and I'm gonna assume the position of Activision heads and prioritizing how the game should be. So I tasked Infinity Ward, hey, make me a Call of Duty game. They gave me Modern Warfare. Perfect. You made a great game. It's top of the line. People are loving it. Let's work with this. Instead of doing Cold War, knowing that okay, so what happened with Cold War was simple. There were Sledgehammer games and the other game, Raven Software, were both working on the game, but they had a falling out. So essentially what they did was they grabbed Sledgehammer, threw it aside, and they were like, make your own COD somewhere else in your own personal time. They grabbed Raven and they said, you're going to support Treyarch and we're going to release Black Ops Cold War. Because of that, Cold War was rushed a year in advance from when it was supposed to come out, because it's supposed to be Infinity Ward, whatever middle company this next, and then Treyarch, right? But they rushed Treyarch a year earlier. So the game came out a little busted, shorter than a usual COD. So, and on top of that, the $10 increase, which is baloney, right? But if they would have just grabbed Modern Warfare, and then they would have said, all right, let's make Cold War an expansion of Modern Warfare as a separate story, like, just add an extra story to the menu or whatever it is. They could have priced that at $50. More people could have bought it. More people could have had access to it, because not only is it cheaper, but it's on both consoles and this and that, whatever. And on top of that, you're only adding to a great game that's already a big package, so more people are inclined to buy that package, right? So you're making this other package more powerful, and on top of that, because the multiplayer is free, or at least the updates have been free, people that don't buy the Treyarch stuff can still get the Black Ops stuff for free and feel more inclined to buy the skins, the Game Pass, whatever it is that they're calling it, the Battle Pass. They could feel more inclined to get all that. So in a business sense, it makes 100% sense.
Well, yes and no. It's hard to say now because I feel like it's too recent in the past for us to know what could have been a better call or not. But ultimately, it did pay off for them to go with this route that they did, because, like I said, Cold War has been the best-selling Call of Duty.
In a basic business sense, it's not that it made sense, it's that it worked, because that's just how life is, right? When a good Call of Duty comes out, the next one almost always gets more money, right? When Modern Warfare blew it out of the water, World at War was bought, and people loved it, despite the fact that it was World War II, and then Modern Warfare 2 was crazy.
Do have preferences for Cold War over Modern Warfare. And I know some of the bigger complaints that people have for Modern Warfare is that a lot of people didn't like a lot of the map designs that they had in that game, and then a lot of people also had problem with the time to kill, because it was the lowest the series has seen compared to other ones. And I think Cold War has a little bit of a higher one, or I think it went back to the default, and some people prefer that. Now, I also personally think that there's a lot less interactivity with your environment in terms of being able to mount and stuff like that. But, some animations were better, and some interactivity was better, so there's trade-offs.
We got to see. I mean, we can do research again, and I'll probably do research on the community and see like what was going on.
It's just an interesting thing to bring up, because
it is.
This is a case where it obviously worked out for them, like where the 3-year cycle worked out for them, but they've also been in problems with it before, when they hit that slump of just creating the futuristic games. But
again, it's like, this episode's about the benefit to the gamer. If at the end of the day they just release everything on one package, then you can just pick whatever you want in that package. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. It's even with what you're saying, it still applies. They make one playlist for boots to the ground, one playlist that's not boots to the ground, and then both players get that benefit in the same game.
Yeah, or it's
and then no one's divided. Because if one day I feel like playing boots to the ground, I can just switch the playlist. And if I don't, if I feel like playing, flying around like a maniac, I can just switch to the other playlist.
Yeah.
I don't have to pick between Modern Warfare. I don't have to put in 2 different games. I don't have to download 2 different games. Just one giant game that just plays everything. At that point, though, I mean, the only benefit I see to not having that as a possibility, the expansion thing, is that right now they just blew it. I think they went nuts with the not optimizing properly. and just making the game so large as a file. So imagine having like 2 expansions to Call of Duty, like 500 gigabyte game. You'd be like, damn, I can't play this anymore. But
so maybe I mean, they've been in their industry for a while, so maybe we're just talking out of our ass and they just know what they're doing.
I mean, this is something that's new. It's all new to them, to everyone. The whole Destiny thing was an experiment. That it was a success in its own exclusive right to Bungie only. It hasn't been a success to anyone else. I mean, Ubisoft and Division is kind of trailing. They're trying to let it go, and like, I personally think they're trying to let it die, but fans just keep trying to pick it up.
Do you think that the success of Destiny is partly to do just with the fact that also it's the name of the developer behind it, Bungie? Because they were so legendary.
Oh no, yeah, no, I agree with that too. It was supposed to be the successor to Halo. That was one of the marketing things. What I think is a success about Destiny is that it continues to do what all the other developers fail to do, where they keep trying to tell you, oh yeah, we'll release everything for free, but then the free stuff's just garbage, and then you just get cosmetics, right? Whereas what Destiny's doing is they're still staying true to the model that I've been parading as the best one, where you get the game, you paid for the game, and then you pay for the expansion, and you just pay for what you want, right? That's what they're doing. And it's been working for them so far, but they're the only ones doing it. Everyone else has copied them with a different, the free to play mentality, which is garbage. Is that the same
thing as World of Warcraft?
Yeah, except that in World of Warcraft you also pay your monthly subscription. But that's neither here nor there. All the biggest MMOs are exactly the same as how Destiny is. You buy the game, you get access to the game. You want more content, you pay for the content. You pay for what you want. The whole concept of giving you something for free is dangerous because, again, you're not the company's not making any profit off of it, so they're most likely going to put the minimum amount of effort. You put effort for what you're getting money for, right? Whatever. That's a separate conversation all on its own. The point is, I'm starting to see a lot of benefits for the gamer, even though it's a lot of corporate background stuff to try and get money. I just hope that.
Well, it's a benefit. You just have to be cautious with it.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to know how to play your cards right, right? It's kind of like what I do at GameStop, where I play my cards right and I walk out with 4 games at $20. It all depends on how you do it. You know, Humble, for all we know, the Humble bundle is like $15 and you get like 5 games. So it all depends on how you do it. But I am seeing a lot of benefits. It's a good time to be a gamer. There's a lot of options. And please, I implore you, if you get bored of Call of Duty or whatever, don't like just live in disdain. Play an indie game. Play something else. There's a bunch of free games out there. Especially if you're a Sony fan, you're getting a bunch of free shit. So just play something else.
Right? Get ready for all those Star Wars games. That shit's gonna be hot.
I can't wait for it.
It's like Will Smith. That's hot.
I should go reserve a Skywalker Saga.
Yes.
Game's gonna be primo.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It's a shorter episode today, but you know, a more positive note. We'll be sure to bring back our scathing hatred for all the scummy things that goes on in the gaming industry, probably on our next episode. But for now, we're just glad that we were able to actually talk about a lot of good stuff that's going on. Obviously, cautiously optimistic, of course, as always. That's how I like to do things over here, because I've seen the things behind the curtain of corporations, and you know, you just
I think careful. Personally we might do an Xbox episode for once, because we've done a Nintendo one, we've done a Sony one.
It's just, honestly, the big thing for me, I'm just gonna be honest about it. I'm just gonna talk about it. Like, I'm not like a quote unquote dick writer here. Like, I don't like, you know, sit down. I don't bend down on my knees for Nintendo, Sony, Xbox. I just personally feel like they've just
been the most active.
Huh?
I personally think they've just been the most active.
I think they're starting to make moves. They're not there yet. I can't honestly envision us sitting down and talking for a full episode about Xbox at the moment, because all we're going to be talking about is moves that they're starting to make.
Well, yeah, no, but
now.
But no. There's a bunch of projects on the works that we can talk about. I could show you like 3 showcases where there's games to come. The only thing that the episode would be about is like, yeah, it's everything that's gonna come. There would be nothing of benefit till now except for Game Pass. I agree with what you're saying, but there are some things that we should be talking about, like Avowed, and how it could be the next big, you know, Elder Scrolls. Like, it could overtake Elder Scrolls for all we know. We could talk about the Fable game that's been rumored for years. We can talk about
yeah, but you see,
but we got
stuff.
These aren't rumors.
I guess we could.
These aren't rumors. These are trailers that exist. These aren't rumors. They're trailers that exist. They're all just like,
we'll give it a shot. We'll do our research. We'll see if we could pull up enough interesting stuff to talk about. We might do an episode about it. It's just Xbox has been, obviously now they're starting to wake up and make moves, but I feel like they've been quiet for a very long time.
Well, yeah, this is their chance to make it back, to come back into the swing of things, right?
Yeah.
Like, just get taken away by the ocean.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll try to do some research to have some stuff to talk about with you guys in the next episode here. Big shout out to everyone who's been listening on the Buzzsprout, and also much love to everyone who watches on YouTube. Again, make sure if you guys want to support us, you could always use the link to tip us down in the description below. Check out our merch in case you want something in return for your support, or you could also check out our Patreon, where you can support us at many different tiers, and you get a bunch of benefits for doing that as well. I've been your co-host, Michael C. Moore.
I'm your other co-host, Jordan G. Marcos.
And we'll see you guys next time. Love you guys. Happy gaming. Peace.
Peace.